Aloha, and welcome to One-Click Documentation. Documenting code can feel like swimming against the tide, right? It's time-consuming, it's tedious, and often the last thing you want to do. When you update your code, you also have to make sure your documentation is updated with it. It just takes our focus away from being creative and into something else. But as good developers, we need to write good documentation for the sake of other developers and our future selves. Why not make it easier? Introducing One-Click Documentation, your one-click solution for generating detailed, coherent documentation. Let's get into how easy it is to get started. Once you buy the asset from the Unity Asset Store, open up your Unity project and download it from the Package Manager. Go to Window, then Package Manager, and find your purchased assets under My Assets. Locate One-Click Documentation, click Download, and then Import. Congrats, you have one-click documentation in your Unity game. Now let's open the Documentation Manager window, which will be the main way we interact with this asset. Go to Tools, then Indie, and click on Documentation Manager. Here you can create all documentation at once or for individual scripts. Let's set the references to the input and output folders. The input folder, for example, is my scripts folder, which contain .cs files within it, while the output folder is where I want the documentation files that are generated to be created into. But before creating documentation, you need to obtain an OpenAI API key. To get the key, go to the OpenAI API website, sign in, and create an API key. Once you have the key, paste it into the OpenAI API key scriptable object in the resources folder. With everything set up, click Create All Documentation. You'll see the cost in the console. It's a fraction of a cent. The generated documentation will appear in your output folder as markdown files. You can also create documentation for individual scripts by dragging them into the reference field and clicking Create Documentation. Check your output folder for the generated files. For the sake of example, I'll copy the content into Gitbook to see the formatted documentation. Just like that, you've documented your code in one click. With one-click documentation, you can leave the hassle of manual documentation behind and focus on creating your amazing games. If this asset was useful for you and has saved you a bunch of time, please leave a review and let us know how it's helped you. Happy coding with one-click documentation.